So the thing about having more than you feel like you have the capacity for, the volume of what is needed from you being exceptionally high, is one of those things that it's like a good problem to have. It indicates a lot of movement. It indicates a lot of opportunity. I tell agents jokingly, they'll ask, how's your day going? Whatever. It's like, oh, it's been a busy one, but I always follow that up with, but busy in our industry is usually a good thing. It usually means there's something
True.
in the pipeline coming down the hopper, right? And so I don't know. I think it's easy to get, if you feel like you're at that place of capacity, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the volume of the things that you need to do. But at the same time, trying to step back and realize like there is a blessing in the midst of that you just have to be able to steward and restructure and delegate where it needs to be delegated. Some of those are maybe natural strengths for people, and some of those are maybe not natural strengths for people. I for whatever reason, as many leadership books as I've read, as many podcasts as I've listened to, everybody talks about the importance of leadership delegation and actually delegating those things that you should not be doing so that you can lead well. It is such a struggle for me to delegate. One, for a couple reasons. One, because I like to learn new things and I like to learn how to do things. And then number two, I trust the work ethic that I'm going to put into it to do it the right way. And it's like, it's not that I don't trust people that I would delegate it to. It's just that I also trust my work ethic that I would put into it myself. Mm-hmm. And so when you couple the trust that you have for the work you would do with a love for learning and uncovering and exploring new things, now all of a sudden it's a recipe where delegation isn't all that shiny and glamorous.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we joke that I think you've said coined this exact term, that I'm a master delegator.
You are.
but I wasn't always like that. And honestly, man, like it took me getting to a point where I'm like, I am so in over my head with crap that I've said yes to within what I'm building, that it made me realize, like, in order to get where I'm trying to go, in order to actually be able to have the life that I want to have, I've got to let go of stuff to be able to step into that.
Yeah.
And so I think what's really cool, like even in our organization, do you mind if I share a little bit about?
Go for it.
So Caleb and I were just having like a pretty like intense but really good conversation just about this awesome spot that we're at right now, but it's also a very hard spot because we've got a lot of like big things going.
Yeah.
And we're at this stretching, point as leaders in this organization where we're having to figure out, okay, at what point do we delegate things that like have been key components to what we've done for a long period of time? Mm-hmm. And I've just gotten to do that with a couple of key hires, that we have in our organization. And Caleb's like right on the precipice of being able to do that within what he does as well. And it's really awesome because it's one of those places where it feels scary to like let go of something, because you feel inevitably like you're going to let somebody down by not servicing them the way that you feel like you should, or
right,
by prioritizing something else, that maybe is equally or more important, but it could potentially let somebody else down. When in reality, sometimes I feel like, and this is what we were talking about, but sometimes the perceptions that we create for people of what that service and all those things aren't even what they need. And so I think that's one of the good things about like being a great leader, is that when you're a great leader, you want to serve people more than they want to actually be served. And that's a great quality even for you, Caleb. Like that's a great quality for you, that you want to serve people beyond what they are even asking for.
Sure.
But what's really beautiful is like when you start to actually step into that next level of like leading and delegating and letting things off the plate and all that kind of stuff, you realize that you serve people in a way that they want to be served, and simultaneously by not over serving them, they indirectly are beginning to serve you as well.
Right.
And so you begin to like enhance the symbiotic nature of the relationship.
Yeah.
So I fully embrace the master of delegation coined phrase that you gave to me, because honestly, like it's not that I was ever at a place. I mean, I've been probably on the edge of burnout before and not realize it, but like not in a crazy bad way, just where, stresses are higher and all that kind of stuff. But being able to do that preemptively stripped the ability or the repercussions of like actually going down that path, right? So like, having you in our organization to be able to facilitate portions of our entire operations, that's a huge release for me to be able to continue propelling our organization forward in what we do. Same thing, I was that person for Chad. We're finding that person for you, those people for you. We're finding those people for me. And what's really cool is the more that we do that, the more that our organization scales, the more that we create other space and opportunity for other leaders to be able to grow within that organization. But yeah, handing stuff off it's scary. It's hard. It's, it's that same thing of like, the way that you're going to work on something, the attention to detail that you're going to put into that thing. And it's hard to say, well, will that person do it?
Right.
Or is the standard going to remain the standard? And ultimately that's where stepping into the leadership elements, like it ensures that the standard will remain the standard.
Right. Well, and I think the question becomes, is this something that I should do, that I need to do? Is it more important that I'm the one that does this, or is it more important that it gets done well? Because when you're limited on time, one of two things happens. Either you don't devote the time that the thing needs, or you do devote the time that the thing needs, and now all of a sudden you're sacrificing in other areas.
Right.
Maybe now all of a sudden you're getting home late and you're not spending as much time with your spouse and your kids and your family. Now all of a sudden it's encroaching on your weekends to a degree that it shouldn't. And it's like, the question should be, is this something that I should do? Is it more important that I do this, or is it more important that it gets done well? And then the follow-up question to that, in my opinion, is, if somebody else that I can delegate this to has a good work ethic, they're a good worker, and number two, they have the time to be able to do it, then you should be able to trust that the thing that gets delegated is going to be done well. If one of those two things is not true, it's a leadership problem. If you have a bunch of people that you can't trust their work ethic, you've hired the wrong people. If you have people that don't have the time to receive delegation, either you've stretched them too thin or you need to expand.
Right.
And so it's like you can just kind of process of eliminate your whole way through the delegation chain, so to speak, and figure out where the problem lies and how to solve it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Man, we're deep quick today.
They didn't. Yeah, well, we've been there for a little while already before we started recording.
Let's cheers.
Cheers.
I got an old fashioned today. My ice cube has already fully melted. That's how long ago we were going to start recording this podcast. Yeah. But honestly, man, like this is really, really good, because in reality, most agents and agency builders and agency owners, like, they're going to run into these kind of things. Right. And so, we said from the beginning that this podcast was going to be mental decompression, right? This is us being real about what it's like to be an executive in this industry. And this is part of it. I mean, we're at a place right now. This week was incredible. Like, I had one of the most exciting weeks that I've had in a long time, with some, huge potential partnership things that are like in negotiations right now, and just some incredible things that I feel like could have like drastic impact in the industry.
Yep.
Beyond, what was on our horizon in the immediate, right?
Yep.
And it's really cool even how the Lord opens those things up when we stay submitted and just stay like humble and willing to work with people. We talk about partnership a lot on this podcast, but being willing to give more than we're trying to get, all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Being willing to give of ourselves, of our time, of our expertise, all these different kinds of things. But in that, simultaneously, you're having a full week.
It's a full week.
And it's still great,
and
right?
It's
still a great week.
Oh, yeah. I can go into some of the detail about them here in a minute.
Yeah, but a full week where, like, you're in this place of, like, man, I got to figure out how to delegate some things that I'm doing, and if that's even possible right now, because capacity is here. So I think what's really awesome is, like, you can be, and probably will be when you're in those growth stages, you're going to be at that place where you have to make a lot of those decisions, like, very quickly.
Right.
And if you don't, like, I wouldn't be serving you as a partner if we didn't have, the conversation that we had today and, like, really process through some of those things and actually, like, strategize.
Right.
Hey, how do we make improvements here? Hey, how do we actually create more bandwidth so that we can expand in this way and this way and this way? And that's what good business relationship is. It's less about just getting the thing done at the expense of the people, and more so, as soon as the as soon as you see that stress and that extra tension that is maybe just a little bit too far is happening, it's immediately time to take some kind of action with that.
Yeah. Well, and to share a little bit about my full week, it's not every week like this, but this week there were two things in particular that if you were to calculate the time that I spent actually this past weekend starting on those things and the time I spent this week on those things, just two things.
Yeah.
You're talking about approximately 12 to 15 hours on two things. Now, one of those two things, you make the argument that it didn't need to be me doing them. It didn't. That could have been delegated, should have been delegated. That's my own issue. That's my own fault. The other one did need to be me. The challenge on these quote unquote full weeks is that it only takes a couple of things to all of a sudden go from a normal full week to an exceptionally full week.
Right.
But I will say, in the midst of it, I had 3 different conversations with 3 different multi-8-figure producers. 2 of the 3 already getting contracts with Retirement Realized Financial. The other one having one more conversation before moving forward.
Right.
That is that jazzes me up, man.
Absolutely.
Because you start to see the fruit of what we've been building and what we've been trying to build toward really starting to bear itself.
Right.
I mean, we're seeing it. And so.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we boldly proclaimed, a few episodes ago about our target is to get $20 million producers in the next handful of years, right? The next 3 to 5 years. That's our target.
Right.
Obviously, we want that to be next year, but maybe it will be. Who knows?
And some of them are going to have to be internally developed.
Sure.
And we know that.
Sure.
They're going to go recruit $20 million producers more than likely.
Right. But both of these producers you're talking about, which we talked about some transitions and stuff that we've had, doubled the production of those transitions that we had. Both of them already between just a couple of guys doing, $30 million a year.
Yep.
And so if you look at like the ability to have turnarounds and even that whole, concept of like, setbacks, right? It's that old, like, I forget even who the motivational guy is, but it might be Maxwell actually. He talks about like a setback is a setup for a comeback or something like that.
Oh, that's different.
I think that's a Maxwell quote.
I pulled into my subdivision one time years ago, and this revelation of your greatest setback has the potential to be your greatest setup if you keep your eyes on Jesus.
Yeah.
But you look at Peter getting out of the boat and walking on water, you detract your gaze, you waver your gaze, and now all of a sudden that setback, which could have been a setup if you handle it with wisdom, is now actually a setback.
Right.
Anyway, sorry.
No, and I think what's really cool about that whole concept, right? We when we talked about adversity last week and overcoming adversity, and you have these moments where like you have high highs in this industry and sometimes low lows, but most of the lows are just kind of like it's just full, right?
Right.
So most of them are not like, oh, this is a low of a time for me in a business building setting. It's like, and this was just a hard week. It's a full week. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving parts in what's being built, what's being created, stewarded, all that kind of stuff. And we think about our business as like stewardship. We are stewarding something that we've been entrusted to grow and have impact in the industry. And so we're not just looking at, agents in, agents out, or agents in, I said agents in and went out first. Agents in, agents out, agents in, agents out. We're looking at, impact. Right. So when an agent goes out and they leave or they transition, which doesn't happen very often.
Pretty stinking rare.
It's like that internal pool of like, oh man, we did something that is now going to not allow us to have the impact on that person that we thought we should have.
I've never had an agent leave on bad terms, I can tell you that. Totally.
And it's because of the way that we operate, right?
Yeah.
So even when we had the agent and the agency that left on great terms, great friends, great relationship, like
purely a business move.
Yeah, purely best thing for that individual's family. It's funny how suddenly, with a fraction of the people that left coming in, we've doubled the production.
Yeah. You just have you cannot waver in doing the right thing. Galatians 6:9. Don't grow weary in doing good. Now, the follow-up to that, or the next sentence, is, for in due time you'll reap a harvest if you don't give up.
Right.
And I think that sometimes it's easy to try and operate in the doing of good on the basis of reaping the harvest, but that is stated in that verse as purely a byproduct. The first thing, and it is a complete thought and it is a complete sentence, don't grow weary in doing good. For if you don't, you will reap a harvest of blessing if you don't give up. It's like that is merely the byproduct. And if you go into trying to do good, I believe there are principles that can be applied, that the result of those principles are effective regardless of the heart posture. But I would rather operate in good principles with a good heart posture than just operating in good principles with a weird ulterior motive to why I'm doing them.
Right. Well, man, I had one time that the Lord stopped me in my tracks big time, and I felt like he spoke to me and said, because I was thinking about sowing and reaping, and I was, that whole concept, right? Like, it's a biblical law.
Right.
You will reap what you sow.
Right.
And the Lord stopped me one time, and he said, are you sowing to reap, or are you sowing out of obedience? It's like, you feel like the Lord tells you that, you're gonna stop and you're gonna shut up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because it like forever shifted my perspective and made me realize that when I'm sowing, if I sow, what you just said will come to pass. If I keep doing it, if I endure, there will be a harvest. But I'm not doing it for my gain and the thing that I'm going to get in that harvest. I'm doing it because that's what I feel like I'm supposed to do. And so, like, even with what we do in the industry, it's like we're doing it sometimes at a lower margin than we should and could.
Right.
But we're doing it in a way that makes it more accessible to more agents.
Yeah.
Right. And so I know that if we continue on this course, and I feel like we're already in the harvest, but like I feel like there's way more of a harvest that will come if we don't grow weary in doing good.
Yeah.
And so it's just really exciting to like actually just be sowing into what we sow into out of just obedience, that we feel like we're supposed to do these things rather than trying to get something in return. And that's how we approach the partnerships.
Right.
So even going back to like the things that I experienced this week, it was sowing a lot of seeds and providing a lot of value and, insights and all these different things. And we don't go into these conversations with NDAs. Like, we're not worried about it.
Yeah. What does Elon say? If some about
I'm intrigued.
competition. He won't do patents because he so believes in competition and free market that if you patent something and now you're the only one that can produce that thing, it can create a bias toward creating an inferior product.
Oh, interesting.
But if you don't patent the thing and now all of a sudden you create for yourself competition, you have to be better than your competition. You were the first to market, so you have the advantage.
Sure.
Okay? But you don't have the legal protection of not being duped.
Mm-hmm.
So now anybody else can come in and duplicate what you do, and he literally won't. At least I've heard. Maybe he's changed now.
Yeah.
In the past, there was a point there where Elon won't do patents.
Interesting.
Because he values the competition and constantly having to be the best.
That's cool. I like that.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting is somebody asked on our weekly mentorship call today, it was all about creating content for your target audience, right? So we talked about like, how do you actually build your audience? How do you actually do the technicality of like, building the pages, the ads, the content, like everything within marketing to generate your own leads. And somebody asked today, and I can't remember specifically how they phrased it, but they were asking about like the saturation.
Oh yeah.
And it was awesome because our partner Jesse, he chimed in and he was like, "Oh, I'm not concerned about the saturation at all."
Yeah.
And he goes into all the numbers about, how many in that particular niche. Here's how many, retirees and pre-retirees there are in this particular niche. Here's how many, come to that place on an annual basis. Like, I don't need that whole amount.
Right.
I've got no problem sharing all of these insights on exactly how I build my audiences for that.
Right.
Because I don't need the whole thing. And then he made a joke and said, I only need half of it.
But it's true. And the thought that I had when he said that, and I should have said it on the call. I didn't say it on the call. But what I should have said was that if you're better, it doesn't matter. A market can be already completely saturated. But if you're better, you will gain market share. So like the concept of saturation, whether it's a real thing or not, is almost a moot point
Yeah.
if you're going to go into that market and execute at a way higher level than what everybody else is executing at.
That's true.
I'm convinced, I don't have the capital or the funding for it. I'm convinced, though, that I could launch an automobile company that would make a reliable pickup truck. Golly, God forbid we actually have a pickup truck that's reliable. And you see all these Fords that should be on the road.
You're
but
just
are,
making a dig at Chad right here, aren't you?
No, but seriously, with modern vehicles, they get cranked out so fast that there's always problems. You run into issues. And granted, you get a warranty, whatever, that cover it, so on and so forth. You should be able to build for what these, and truck market is what I'm most familiar with. For $80,000, $90,000 a new pickup, you should be able to build a reliable machine that is going to last a very long time without any major mechanical problems, assuming it's been being handled the right way and maintained and all that stuff. I believe that with the right funding and capital, that just on the premise of we are going to build a machine, a truck, at a fair price that is designed to last for decades, that we could instantly capture market share that is relatively a tapped market. There's very rarely can you be a new startup in the automobile market space, but you come in and you do something better, you execute at a higher level, even in something like that, you can gain market share.
You know, what's funny is I'm going to stick with this theme of, not growing weary and doing good. And I know somebody who worked in a customer service, I think a little bit higher up in a customer service center for a major automobile company. And they were high-end trucks, like the highest trim package. They were dealing with the highest trim package pretty significantly. And these people were buying these high-end trucks. They were, driving them from, southern states all the way up into like, northern U.S. states and up into like Canada and stuff like that, doing these big hunting trips. And the trucks were breaking down. So they'd buy these trucks and they would start, they would haul up their trailers, all the stuff, everything that was rated to be able to tow, probably way less than. And the trucks would break down, having transmissions blow and all this stuff. And their customer response or customer service response that they were supposed to share was, you're supposed to take some smaller trips first to prime the engine before you take any larger trips like that.
That is ridiculous.
And these were trucks that cost over, they were probably between 90 and 110, 120,000 for these trucks. Like,
that is
I'm talking
ridiculous.
Like top line, like,
break it in, so to speak.
Right.
Like it's a pair of hiking boots.
Right. Crazy. Half-ton, three-quarter-ton pickup trucks that are breaking down because they took them on a $5,000 or 5,000 mile, 3,000 mile trip, like pretty quick after they bought them. Now, I'm not a mechanic, so maybe there's a technical thing there, but when you talk about like not growing weary and doing good, that to me is you're growing weary because you're doing bad. Like you're making a bad product and you're charging way more than you should for that product, and it's breaking down, and so you're getting tired because you're having to hire, thousands of customer service reps to talk to these people that are candidly very ticked off that they just spent $100,000 on a pickup truck that broke down in the first month.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I would much rather get tired for doing the right thing and going above and beyond to actually do something of higher impact than for doing something the wrong way.
Yeah.
And then having like the guilt about it, right? Or having to like figure out how to make that wrong or right.
Right.
I'd just rather do it right the whole time.
Yes.
And just do it right, and maybe get tired because I'm doing it right. Maybe it's a little bit less cost efficient to do it the right way. Maybe it's, a little bit more that I'm personally taking on, or that you're taking on, or that our partners are taking on in order to stay leaner, to do it the right way and not overhire in the wrong places. I would much rather that, though, every day.
I agree. There are, a huge range of different typical profit margins and percentages depending on the industry, right? But let's just take a very conservative 'Cause, I mean, when you're talking about annuities, you're talking about agents out there that are 3, 5, 10xing their costs. So you're talking about hundreds of % of margin in essence. Let's take a normal like product industry and say the difference between a 40 or a 50% profit margin and a 60 or 70% profit margin when is stewarded right is more total profit by dollars and happier customers.
Right.
If you have two companies that are in effectively the same industry and could attain the same 60 or 70% margin, one does. They take the 60 or 70% margin. The other decides, you know what, we are going to heavily invest in the quality of our product. We are going to heavily invest in our support and our customer service. They might reduce their margin down, let's say 40 or 50%. What do you think the difference in the long run between the company that's taking a 40 or 50% margin and the one that's taking 60 or 70 is going to be? I'd rather be on the 40 or 50 side.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked about it here. I definitely made a post on LinkedIn about it at some point, but talking about cash flow, right? Cash flow being one of the most important things as a business operator that you can focus on, especially in earlier stages, more than your profitability.
Yeah.
Now, I say that because if there's free cash flow, you can reinvest that cash flow back into your business.
Right.
Now, that's not going to show on your, end of year P&L statement as profit because you've reinvested that into your business.
Right. So you're not getting taxed on it.
But if you were to just draw that as an owner, right? Or let's say you're, just distributing it in some way, however that structure is for you and your entity, that's way less impactful for your business in the long run. So you might, have a 60, 70% profit margin and you're just going to draw on that. You're going to take a big old lump sum. You're going to, you're going to be lining your bank account pretty well. It's going to be nice. It will be nice. And you've earned it, right? So you can. There's nothing unethical about that. But there's a cap to how far you can take your organization when you do that.
Correct.
And so I think what's really cool is like when you know that this concept of like, how do you take cash flow and reinvest that cash flow so that in the long term, there's more profit.
Oh, yeah.
And so you take 2-3 years, 5 years max of reducing the amount of profit that you're drawing off of in your business, and you're taking that as free cash flow that then you can go reinvest into making your business better. Right? We put over 6 figures just into a simple training platform last year.
Yep.
Not to mention all the man hours. Like you're talking multiple 6 figures that we put into our training platform last year. And I was talking with somebody who literally they've sold multiple organizations in the industry.
Yep. Built up and sold
multiple organizations in the industry. We're doing, I'm not going to say any names, but they were doing $100 million a month in FIA premium. And he said it's the most well laid out training platform that he's ever seen.
Yep.
Investment into what you're doing is a huge deal.
It is. And I would argue that if you're taken care of, you have more than enough individually from your company, and your people are well taken care of, looking for those expenses that you can spend money on that are going to catalyze the thing growing and expanding and accelerating forward are going to set you so far away ahead of everybody else, it's not even funny. Because it's so much easier to take an extra 60, 70, 100,000, million, whatever it is, whatever the scale is of the size of the business per year, than it is to put back into it.
Right.
But putting back into it is what's going to build the thing way better, way faster, and be worth way more in the long run.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly.
I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
But it comes back to knowing what you need to do.
Right.
And having your finger on the pulse of what you're trying to build, where you're trying to go, what the industry is, your competitors, all those types of things.
Yeah. Well, and I think often, agents get tired. Agents get really tired. I mean, you talk to agents all the time. Probably 80% of your week is talking to agents on the phone.
It's a lot.
And I'm sure a lot of them are tired. They're all figuring out, the leads thing all the time, right? We can give them all the different programs in the world, but they got to find what's right for them. And that's part of what we help do is we pinpoint, you talk about this really well, where you actually spend time to help figure out what is the right thing for them and for their particular personality, their style, their passions, all that kind of stuff. to get them generating leads in the right way. But man, they get tired.
Yeah.
And if you're an agent listening to this and you're tired, don't worry about it. It's a pretty normal thing, because especially when you don't have those lead systems established where you're generating them organically, it is truly, I'm putting my good faith in this company, hoping that they're going to give me what I need in return. And even mentally, it's tiring.
Yeah.
Mentally, there's fatigue there. If you're an agent cross-selling, right? Maybe you're a life insurance or you're a Medicare agent or somebody who's just looking at getting into this business. It's tiring when you're trying to figure out, like, what is an annuity? How do I figure out what an annuity is and how to position it to prospects?
Right.
In the midst of doing the other things that you're doing, it can be tiring. It can be exhausting, but there's reward if you just stay the course.
Right.
And I truly believe, I saw something on LinkedIn this week, and it was somebody talking about how if you just do something of value for long enough, eventually you will find success in that thing.
Yeah.
If it's truly of value. Now, I'm not saying if you just do anything, eventually you're going to get paid to do it. But if you're doing something that truly is providing value and solving a problem, solving a need, a true need, eventually you're going to make money on that thing.
Yeah.
Eventually that harvest is going to be there. And I think that scripture that you talked about is exactly that law laid out.
Yeah. You just have to stay the course.
Yeah.
Keep pushing. It is tiring. I get tired at times. I'll share this. There's a newer agent to the industry. And when I say newer, I'm talking like never sold an application before, never had a policy issued. I mean, brand new. I've been working with for a little while now. We've had some cases come up. We've had tons of conversations, all those types of things. And it's like, there can be times where it gets tiring. I saw a photo of this agent's kids on Facebook. We're friends on Facebook. And seeing the kids, there was like this weird like shift in me where it was like, I'm already extremely service bent.
Yeah. But
I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, come hell or high water, we are getting this annuity thing stinking figured out.
That's awesome, man.
It was this, whatever is needed to get this thing figured out, it will get figured out. I was also thinking about newer agents starting out. I think that a lot of times, every decision they make, every purchase they make is extremely high stakes. There are a lot of producers out there that are writing such volume that for them to go spend $3,000, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 on a new lead company or marketing program or whatever is pretty low stakes. Mm-hmm. When you're starting out, there is so much that's high stakes. And I would make an argument that the higher the stakes, every decision and every purchase decision financially that you make is, the more important it is to emphasize personal development. You made a comment earlier about, you put thousands of dollars with this company. Let's call it a lead vendor or marketing system or whatever. And just like, man, I hope they get me what I need. And my brain went to, I hope they get me what I need, but I also hope I'm able to steward what they give me. Mm-hmm. Especially the higher the stakes that gets, right, the more important it is for me to do everything that I can in my power
to knock it out,
to be the best possible version of myself, to execute with the opportunity that I have at the highest level that I'm capable of executing. Right. The higher the stakes, the more you have to emphasize the personal development side of it.
And I'd go as far to say this, Caleb. I think most agents, and I was starting to get teared up because I know what you sacrifice to do what we do. And I've seen you sacrifice so much to do what we do, of yourself, right? All that kind of stuff. I need to stop because I'm about to. I need to stop. But most people, like you're looking at someone's kids on Facebook, and you're like, man, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they succeed. But like, I would actually ask the question of how many people that are actually listening to this even look at their same kids and approach it the same way. They look at their own kids and they're like, I need to do whatever I can for my kids. And I get emotional because I'm talking about my kids, and I'm like, man, for my wife and my kids, like, I would do anything.
Yeah.
Like, we're in a growth season right now. I never let the business stuff come between, me and my family ever. right?
Yeah, I
It's
will attest to that without any exception.
and the reality is, like, there are times where I'm stinking tired. Like last night, because we're launching into some campaigns and stuff. So I'm doing things that like I technically shouldn't be doing as the president of Retirement Realized Financial and like our companies that we have in this network, but I want to because I want to get my hands into all the things that we're doing and building, so that way when I hire somebody to do those things, I've actually had the experience doing those things.
Right.
And so like my kids, my wife, they go to sleep last night. I actually had like worship rehearsal. So I worked at home yesterday, go to rehearsal, so I'm away from my kids for a few hours, come home, sit on the couch. We like to make homemade popcorn at the house. So like I'm sitting on the couch with the family, like watching some random cartoon movie that my wife found. It's like a Clifford the Big Red Dog movie. And sitting there with my kids, and I'm just like laughing and cutting up with them. They go to bed. My wife goes to bed, and I pull out my stuff, and I'm like, there's more to be done. And I'm up till 2 a.m. like working on stuff because it's what needs to be done. Like that's the giving of myself, and I spend that time with them, and I'm like, man, I would do anything for my wife and for my kids. And like with what I get to build within what we have and the opportunity that we have in Retirement Realized and just in this industry in general, like I don't ever want to squander that.
Right.
But how many agents, and if you're listening to this right now and you're like, man, I'm getting super convicted, that's okay. Like we've all had our moments where we get convicted in that regard, and we're like, man, we got to, we have to man or woman up right now, and we got to figure out like, what do we have to do to take ownership of our lives and our careers, our businesses, the things that we actually want to grow, and actually grow them.
Right.
And we've got to be willing to do more than what other people are willing to do. And Chad has this phrase. He says, I'm willing to do more than most people are willing to do to get where they're wanting to go, or something like that. There's some phrase that he uses, but it's this concept of, are you willing to do what most people aren't in order to get
where most people
want to be?
Yeah.
And most people aren't willing to do what it takes to get there.
It's true.
And so, do I want to stay up till 2 a.m. working on stuff? No.
Right.
I don't want to. Now, I want to go to bed, but I probably wouldn't because I'm a night owl, so I stay up later. But like for me, it's like if I'm going to stay up, I don't want to watch Sports Center. Like even though every part of me wants to be like following up on training camp of the NFL and all that kind of stuff, and
right.
preseason and who's getting cut and who's making the rosters, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, there's a mission. There are things that have to be done right now, and I'm going to do what I need to do in order to do that. And then I'm up and I'm on our mentorship call this morning.
Yeah.
Like, no complaining about it. It's what has to be done. I made that choice to do that because I looked at my wife and my kids, and I'm like, they're worth me doing that for.
Yeah.
And so that's why I get choked up with things like that, because it's like you're looking at someone else's kids and doing that same thing.
And that's the thing
that
I saw it.
And that's amazing, man. Like that's the thing that I feel like, and I'm not bragging on what we do, but like our mindset is different because we care about people.
Right.
And we want people to succeed.
Yeah. And
especially when they, in the several instances where we've had agents leave over the past handful of years, right? It's not been many times at all.
So I've talked to other marketers about our churn rate, and they are flabbergasted by how low it is.
Right. Right. And what's crazy is like, despite all of that, every single time that we've had one of those instances, which we can probably both recall all of the individuals that was, or that happened to be, every single time I'm like, but it's different. Like I know where you're going. I know the organization that you're going to, and I know the way that you're going to be seen over there. And I can guarantee you that it's different than the way that you're going to be seen here.
Yeah.
But sometimes people don't see that, and that's okay. I mean, that's part of it. And, our arms are always open, right? Because we care about people. And so it's one of those things. You got me on my soapbox right now.
Hey, I'm here for it, man. And I agree 100%. I don't even have kids. And do you know how often I think about what I'm trying to build for them? The kids that I don't have and have never met? Like, weekly.
Yeah.
That's a real thing, man. So I get it. I agree.
Yep.
It's big stuff. There's I don't remember, this was probably 2, maybe 3 years ago at this point. We used to have little get-togethers in the morning, some worship together and whatnot. And I remember one morning having this idea come to mind that joy fuel is greater than jet fuel.
It's still on that board in there.
Yeah, we wrote it 3 years ago, and it's still there.
We've never erased it.
Yeah.
We probably couldn't even erase it now.
Probably
It's probably
not even.
basically Sharpie on there right now.
Well, but joy fuel being greater than jet fuel. The way that things get executed and done when you're joyful is at a level that just being a high achiever can't compete. When you execute things from a place of joy, the quality of the things that are done, the attitude with which those things are done, are so peak that there's really no other environment in which they could be accomplished better. Mm-hmm. So I'm a huge proponent of joy, and it's so easy to get caught in the weeds, in the frustrators and the challenges and the adversities and all of those things, some of which we talked about last week. It's so easy to get caught, and then it feels like they've robbed your joy. That thing has stolen my joy. Well, if it can take it, I would argue, when it comes to joy, it's not a material item. It's an internal thing. If something can take it, it wasn't ever yours to start with. But if it is yours, then it's a decision to relinquish it or to retain it. Mm-hmm. Because it's not a material item. I can hotwire your truck and I can steal your truck. That's not something that you have control over.
Just leave your keys to your new truck first.
But when it's internal and it's intrinsic, if it can be stolen, it was never truly possessed. And if it is truly possessed, then it's a decision to let it go when it feels like it is, quote unquote, stolen. Mm-hmm. And I'm guilty of letting it go at times.
I mean,
so I'm not on my high horse here looking down on anybody. Yeah.
Any honest human is guilty of letting it go sometimes.
But like I have told you before that I'm not a pessimist, but I also don't necessarily think I'm an optimist. Like I'm
an optimist at the core.
You are. I try to look at things like middle grounded and like, I don't know. I say that I'm a realist. But,
yeah, I know.
But to an optimist, that's heresy. But point being, it's not like I'm sitting here saying, oh yeah, you just brush over things and just choose to be happy. It's like, no, happy and joy are different. But if you can maintain your joy, which is so often rooted in why you do what you do, so you got to identify that why. It's like you'll be able to keep hold of that joy that you don't have to give up. You don't have to turn it over when those things come along that you think are trying to steal it from you.
What's interesting with that too is you talked about it's a choice to retain it or to relinquish it. It's also a choice to take it back if you have chosen to relinquish it before.
Yeah.
And so if you feel like you've lost your joy, or you feel like maybe I've laid that down, or I need to be better about keeping hold of that, then you just pick it up. Like so often we overcomplicate anything in life. Just pick it up.
Right.
Like you have to mentally make a shift that you're going to view the world different if you want to see the world different.
Yeah.
And that's why for me, I'm very much an optimist, and I think that's like my optimistic side coming out. It's like if I want to be more joyful, then I just need to go be more joyful. I'm probably looking at something through a distorted lens.
Right.
And I need to change out that lens. I need to stop, letting things hold my attention more than they should. I probably have my attention on something that is causing me to feel a lack of joy if I'm feeling a lack of joy. I'm probably looking at a situation in the wrong light. And so it's just as easy to pick it back up and to say, you know what? Like that's not the way that I want to live my life. That's not the way I want to build my business. That's not the way that I want to experience success, right? I don't want to be successful on paper, but miserable, in my mind.
Right.
Right. I want to be successful on paper and successful in my mind and successful at my home.
Yeah.
All of those things. And if you have all of those things, then suddenly like you can actually be proud of that success, and you're not secretly like in shame about the success that you have because you realize what you've sacrificed to actually have that.
Totally.
That's a dangerous thing right there.
It is. But so go recapture the joy if you need to recapture it.
Yep.
It's yours. I've had conversations with people before regarding self-control. I'm impulsive by nature. I get an idea and I want to do that thing. And I would argue that self-control as a natural strength of mine is not very high at all. I tend to be more impulsive. I have argued with people about self-control before, and it's similar to joy in that the joy is yours. Everyone has self-control, which is ultimately, in a roundabout way, it can manifest in the form of discipline. Keep doing the thing.
Yeah.
Stay steadfast. Stay the course. Don't get weary in doing good. I also believe wholeheartedly that self-control can be developed, that it can actually be grown, that it can be increased by choosing to operate in self-control. So if you have a hard time being self-controlled with your finances, and you see something and you're just like, oh, I just got to have that thing, and so you just buy it, and so you're just completely impulsive with your finances, start being self-controlled with your diet and watch how you being self-controlled with your diet impacts your capability of being self-controlled with your finances. Vice versa. Same way. Like, and insert anything. For me, for the longest time, the way that I practiced self-control was in the form of not consuming sweet tea when I wanted and could consume sweet tea. I knew I wanted it, and it was right there in front of me. And I would make myself look at it and tell that thing no and drink water instead. And that just itty-bitty, and that's such a small thing, it is. But the major areas of impact that little bit of quote-unquote practice had is almost undescribably large. You just practice. And joy is the same way. The more you'll choose joy, the more bent toward joy you'll be regardless of what comes up.
Right.
So it's like these things that we want to operate in them. If we wait until we feel motivated to do something rather than choosing discipline, we wait until we feel like we have the self-control to do something, we wait until we feel happy and joyful about something, it's going to be a roller coaster ride of the way that you not only are internally but are externally. Rather than realizing all of it's yours for the taking, just take it, take ownership of it, and choose to operate in that thing.
Yeah.
Just be steady.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably dumbing it down. It's way more complicated than that, but it's like there's more that goes on to it. But
yeah, but action breeds motivation. So if you take action, eventually you'll be motivated to the things that you're taking action toward. It's self-discipline, right? If you take action on something, right? If I want to have a nice yard, I don't want to go out and be in the sun and be away from my wife and my kids for a couple hours that it takes me to do my yard every single week. Like every single week. If I don't want to pay the $150 every month to have my yard serviced, and that's not even to cut it, that's just to like service the weeds and stuff. It's not cheap to do that kind of stuff. But action, getting out there, pulling the lawnmower out, realizing I can cut the lines. Like, oh, I realize that, man, suddenly I do a couple passes through and I'm like, oh, I kind of like this. Like it's nice to like
relaxing.
have a nice yard. Like I'm stewarding the thing that I've been given. And suddenly now I'm motivated to have a nice yard. I'm motivated to make sure that like we're weeding our flower bed.
yeah,
That we hauled, 10,000 pounds worth of topsoil to make nice.
Yep.
Like I'm motivated by those things, but it took action to do that. I didn't want to have to call a dirt company to come dump a dump truck worth of dirt in my driveway and then wheel it with the wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started doing it, I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like my wife and I are doing this thing. Like we're doing something nice. Now we're motivated to maintain that thing. So action breeds motivation. Action leads to that motivation. And if you need motivation in your life and your business and your relationships and your financials, whatever that thing is, start taking action.
Yeah.
And so you could say it's dumbed down way too much all day, but like I think often we more often than not overcomplicate when it is really that simple.
It is simple. And I use the word it's more complicated than that. I don't think it's more complicated. It is truly that simple. It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as talking about it makes it seem, especially in the heat of a moment.
Right.
Right? But I agree with that 100%. When I was on staff at a church, and I told at a meeting with our senior pastor, I told him, I said, man, I have zero desire to be getting in the Word right now. I have zero desire for like any kind of Bible study whatsoever. I have zero desire to be spending like intimate time with the Holy Spirit, like any of that. And his response was, Caleb, if you'll do it, you have to decide whether or not you're going to do it. You can't be coerced. You can't be manipulated into that. You have to make that decision for yourself so that it'll actually stick. But if you'll decide to do it, what starts with obedience will become affection. And it's a similar thing. What starts with action will become, what was the other, you said starts with action breeds
motivation. Yeah.
Same concept.
Yep.
If you'll start doing the thing, and then while you're doing the thing, start looking for all the things that you love about that and dwell on those things that you love about it, it will eventually become really, really, really enjoyable. Working out. I loathed leg day for the longest time. And then I started doing leg day, and I was like, I kind of like this. It's kind of enjoyable. I kind of like it. It literally just focusing on the things that you do enjoy creates a passion for it and an enjoyment in it.
I've got a joke that I want to make. You loathed working out until I started running 5Ks a few years ago, and then suddenly you wanted to start running and outpace me. But that's the competition too. Like,
I don't think I'm going to outpace you in a 5K.
Well, I'd be outpaced by most people in a 5K, but I go out there and do it. But it's the mental, right? It's that. I mean, I talked about that on one of our first episodes, like that concept of getting out there and just like proving to myself that I can do something.
Yeah.
Like go out there and do a thing.
Yeah.
And you'll realize that you can do things.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that sounds super dumb to say. Go do a thing and you'll realize you can do things. Like do hard stuff and you'll realize that you can do hard stuff.
Chad, sorry.
Go make some calls and you'll realize, man, I can make calls.
That's where my brain went. Chad, for the longest time, I don't like making calls. I hate Mondays. I have to make calls. Like he just does not like making calls.
Yeah.
It's a drudgery. It feels like a lot of time for some return. Obviously, you're booking appointments out of it, and then you're going and writing tons of business with those appointments you have. As soon as he starts changing his verbiage, he literally came to me one day. He's like, Caleb, I got to stop saying how much I don't like making calls because it's impacting the way that I make calls. So he started coming in and he started saying, I enjoy these calls. I enjoy Mondays. I'm excited to make calls. All of a sudden, he started seeing the goodness in them. And when we go back to the whole premise of what we started with earlier about sowing and reaping, how much of what we sow is verbal? And yet we will emotionally, mentally, physically reap verbal seeds we sow.
Yeah.
But I will say on the golf course, I am extremely self-deprecating. So, and it does not help.
No, I've been on the losing end of that financially because of your self-deprecation.
Yeah, the more frustrated I get on the golf course, the worse I play.
On hole one, he drives it just right of the fairway or just right or left of the fairway. And immediately he's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a terrible day. I'm like, Caleb, you stop that right now. No, but hey, our last time playing golf though, my wife whooped both of us.
She's
but I was proud of myself. I made 2 pars, and it should have been 3. But my wife called me out because we were trying to go a little bit fast, and I shot just off to the side, and it was just in the rough, and I knew it was right there, but we didn't have the time for me to find it, so I just dropped one right there, still in the rough, still made par, and she's like, you had a drop there.
What's funny is
accountability, right? Accountability.
Yes, and to be fair, that hole specifically, it would not have taken you another stroke. If you take the time to find the ball, which you could have done, it would have been a par.
Right.
When we started that round of golf, you said, Caleb, my goal today is a par. Didn't I tell you were going to hit 3?
Oh, now you're claiming the credit for it.
No.
You might have.
I am like 99% sure that I told you were going to hit 3.
Well, you didn't let me change my scorecard that day either, so.
No, I didn't, because technicality is a technicality, and I was playing against you. But to be fair, it would have been a par if you had taken the time to find it.
For any of you listening, you might be thinking, wow, 2 pars on a 18-hole course, that sucks.
Yeah.
For me, That was a huge thing for me.
We're high handicap golfers.
We're selfless golfers.
Yeah. We have fun, though.
We do have fun.
I don't know of anybody that has more fun out there.
Oh, man. We're getting better, too, every single time.
We were trying to go today. It didn't work.
Yep.
We need to go.
But, man, this has been super good today. I'm really intrigued to get some agent stories and stuff in the next couple weeks. So agents listening to this,
Yeah.
you might be cross-selling, you might be annuity specific. Like, send us some stories. You can find Caleb North on LinkedIn, find me, Josh Delgado on LinkedIn. Even if you don't send us stories, like, connect with us on LinkedIn. We want to get to know y'all. We truly do care about actually getting to know you and you know, what you're about, what you stand for, how you're having impact in this business. And we're excited about it. We love this industry. We didn't come into this industry because we loved it, but we've fallen in love with it and what we're able to actually do to help people through this industry. And agents, right? Agents, people just like the agents listening to this right now, agency owners, I mean, they're having big impact, and they might not realize it all the time, but even one person, right? One person purchasing an annuity that doesn't have to have the fear of outliving their retirement, like, that has changed someone's legacy. It's changed the way that they're going to live the rest of their life. It's changed the way that their kids, their grandkids are going to experience them in their retirement years.
Yeah.
Because they've got peace of mind. And so it's one of those things where you start to think about things from a different perspective, and suddenly it all starts to come into view, and you just have a renewed and revived sense of passion for it.
So true, man.
Makes the hard times worth it. And once again, when we don't grow weary in doing good, it makes it all better. Cheers.
Love it.
To another great week.
Another great week.